Danny's eyes fluttered open to the soft glow of morning light streaming through the window, painting the room in warm hues of gold and amber. He turned his head to the right and was momentarily captivated by the sight of her, Rachel, sleeping peacefully beside him. Her hair cascaded over the pillow like a waterfall of silk, and the gentle rise and fall of her chest filled him with a profound sense of warmth and contentment. Memories of the previous night played through his mind, each moment a vivid brushstroke on the canvas of his heart, igniting a smile that crept across his lips. Flashback of last night. The atmosphere had been electric as Danny sat across from Rachel at a cozy table, nestled in the corner of a bustling cafe. The air was filled with the rich aroma of coffee and the soft murmur of conversations, but all he could focus on was her. They had spent the evening wrapped in conversation, laughter bubbling between them like fine champagne, effervescent and intoxicating. He felt an undeniable magnetic pull toward her, as if the universe had conspired to bring them together, making the world outside fade away into a distant hum. "So what's your name?" Danny had asked, a hint of bashfulness creeping into his voice, betraying the nervous excitement swirling within him. "We've been talking for so long and I didn't even ask your name. I'm Danny." Rachel's eyes sparkled like stars as she leaned slightly forward, her smile illuminating the dim cafe. "I'm Rachel," she replied, her voice warm and inviting, wrapping around him like a soft embrace. "It's nice to finally be properly introduced." Danny couldn't help but grin. The way her name rolled off his tongue felt like it belonged to a cherished melody, one he could listen to over and over again. As they continued chatting, Rachel tilted her head, her curiosity evident. "Did you come here by yourself?" she asked, genuine interest lacing her voice, her gaze penetrating and sincere. "Oh no," Danny replied, feeling a burst of enthusiasm. "I came here with my brother-in-law, Mickey. He's probably around here somewhere." A sense of pride filled him as he spoke of Mickey, who had always been a guiding light in his life, encouraging him to step out of his comfort zone and embrace the unknown. "Where is he? Let me introduce you to him," Rachel exclaimed, her excitement infectious, her eyes dancing with anticipation. As Danny scanned the cafe, he spotted Mickey across the room, animatedly chatting with a couple of friends, his laughter booming like a joyful chorus. "There he is," Danny called out, waving his hand to get Mickey's attention, his heart racing with the prospect of sharing this moment. Mickey looked up, catching Danny's eye, and made his way over with a confident stride, his jovial demeanor lighting up the space. "What's up, Danny?" he said, glancing between his brother-in-law and Rachel, an amused smile spreading across his face as he took in the chemistry humming between them. Danny turned to Rachel, feeling a mix of anticipation and pride swelling within him. "Rachel, this is my brother-in-law, Mickey." "Mickey, this is Rachel." "Nice to meet you," they both said in unison, laughter spilling into the air as they exchanged pleasantries, the atmosphere around them crackling with energy. "Nice to meet you, Rachel," Mickey said, his charm evident as he extended a hand toward her. "I've heard so much about you from Danny. He can't stop talking about how wonderful you are." Danny felt a flush creep up his cheeks, suddenly bashful under Mickey's teasing gaze. "Come on, man. Don't put me on the spot like that," he laughed, trying to brush off the compliment while feeling Rachel's gaze linger on him, a mixture of amusement and intrigue dancing in her eyes. Rachel chuckled, her laughter like a gentle melody that resonated within him. "Thank you, Mickey. It's nice to finally meet the man behind the stories," she replied, her eyes sparkling with warmth and something deeper, something that ignited a flicker of hope in Danny's heart. As the three of them settled into conversation, the connection deepened, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. Mickey's playful banter and Rachel's infectious laughter created an ambience that felt like home, and Danny reveled in the moment, grateful for the unexpected twist of fate that had brought them all together. Back to the present, Danny's heart swelled at the memory of that night, the joy, the laughter, and the undeniable chemistry he felt with Rachel. He couldn't help but admire her as she lay beside him, a vision of tranquility and beauty. The morning light kissed her features, highlighting the gentle curve of her smile, even in sleep, and he felt an overwhelming urge to reach out and brush a strand of hair from her face. Feeling a surge of affection, he quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake her, as if she were a precious secret he wanted to keep safe. He made his way to the kitchen, excitement bubbling within him as he brewed a pot of coffee, hoping to wake her gently with the inviting aroma. As he waited, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something beautiful, an adventure filled with laughter, warmth, and the promise of new memories yet to be made. As the coffee brewed, Danny's mind wandered to the possibilities that lay ahead. They had shared such a vibrant connection last night, and the thought of exploring that connection further thrilled him. The way Rachel had looked at him, her laughter twinkling like starlight in her eyes, filled him with hope. He poured the steaming coffee into 2 mugs, the rich aroma wrapping around him like a warm embrace. Just as he turned to head back to the bedroom, he caught a glimpse of Rachel stirring. She blinked awake, her eyes meeting his with a mix of surprise and delight, and in that moment Danny felt a spark ignite between them, a promise of something deeper, something extraordinary. "Good morning, sleepyhead," he said, his voice soft and inviting. "I made coffee. I thought it might help you wake up." Rachel smiled, her eyes lighting up as she took in the scene, the gentle morning light, the aroma of coffee filling the air, and Danny standing there, a hopeful glimmer in his eyes. "That sounds perfect," she replied, her voice still laced with the remnants of sleep, but filled with warmth and promise. And as they settled into the morning together, Danny felt that this was more than just a new day. It was an invitation to explore the depths of their connection, to embark on an adventure that would lead them both to discover the beauty hidden in the moments yet to come. As Danny and Rachel settled into the cozy embrace of the morning, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee intertwined with the scent of buttery toast, crafting an atmosphere that felt both warm and intimate. They sat at the small kitchen table, sharing breakfast and laughter, every bite infused with the sweetness of newfound connection. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, weaving threads of their lives into a rich tapestry of shared experiences and dreams, each story drawing them closer together. Danny felt something stirring within him, an awakening of emotions he had never quite experienced before. It was as if Rachel had unlocked a door to a part of his heart he didn't know existed, flooding it with light and warmth. The way she laughed, her eyes sparkling with joy, made him feel alive in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. He found himself hanging on her every word, captivated by her passion for life and the genuine kindness that radiated from her. After breakfast, they drifted to the couch, their bodies naturally gravitating toward one another. The living room was dimly lit and inviting, a perfect haven for a lazy afternoon. Danny wrapped his arm around Rachel, pulling her closer as they settled in to watch a movie. The screen flickered to life, but his attention was divided. He was acutely aware of the warmth of her body against his, the way her head rested comfortably on his shoulder, and the intoxicating scent of her hair that enveloped him like a fragrant embrace. As the movie played on, Danny felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He didn't want to let her go, physically and metaphorically. The thought of separating from this moment felt almost unbearable. It was as if the world outside had faded away, leaving just the two of them in a cocoon of warmth and affection. Each time Rachel shifted closer, every gentle touch sent sparks of electricity through him, igniting a longing that settled deep in his chest. He realized he was falling for her in a way he hadn't anticipated, and the weight of that realization both thrilled and frightened him. But as the movie progressed, the tranquility of their shared moment was suddenly shattered by the sharp trill of Rachel's phone ringing from the coffee table. She stirred slightly, pulling away from Danny's side, and his heart sank at the loss of her warmth. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice tinged with reluctance as she reached for her phone. "I have to take this," he nodded, forcing a smile even as disappointment washed over him. He wished he could hold her and keep the world at bay, but reality intruded, and he watched her answer the call, his heart heavy with the distance that began to grow between them. Rachel's expression shifted as she spoke softly into the phone, her brows furrowing slightly, her lips curling into a smile at something said on the other end. After a few long minutes, she hung up, turning back to him, her eyes softening with unspoken emotions. "I really have to go," she said, a hint of regret coloring her voice. "I'll call you later, okay?" Danny's heart sank further at the thought of her leaving, a bittersweet ache settling in his chest. "Of course," he replied, trying to sound casual, though he could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him like a heavy fog. "I'll be waiting for your call." Rachel smiled warmly, but there was a sadness in her eyes that tugged at his heart. She leaned in, pressing a soft kiss against his cheek, and in that fleeting moment, a rush of warmth surged through him, mingling with the sharp pang of impending loss. "Thank you for a wonderful morning," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "I had such a great time." As she stood up, Danny felt a desperate urgency wash over him, as if he could somehow hold on to this moment, this feeling, if only he tried hard enough. "Wait, Rachel," he called out, his voice laced with a mix of hope and desperation. Can we do this again soon? I mean, I'd love to see you again." Her gaze met his, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still, filled with unspoken words and promises. "Absolutely," she replied, a bright smile lighting up her face, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'd love that." With that, she grabbed her bag and headed for the door, but not before casting one last lingering glance back at him, a silent promise hanging in the air between them. Danny watched her go, feeling the bittersweet ache of longing settle heavily in his chest, a foreboding sense of loss creeping in. He knew this was just the beginning of something beautiful and profound, yet the thought of her leaving felt like a cruel twist of fate. As the door clicked shut behind her, Danny sank back into the couch, the warmth of their shared moments still lingering in the air, but quickly replaced by an icy void. The movie continued to play in the background, but he could barely focus on the screen. The laughter, the warmth, the connection they had shared now felt like a distant memory, and a hollow ache spread through him, a reminder of what had just slipped away. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had just tasted a glimpse of happiness, only to watch it vanish into thin air. The anticipation of her call felt like a fragile thread, and he couldn't help but wonder if it would be enough to bridge the distance that now lay between them. As he stared at the door, a bittersweet smile tugged at his lips, knowing deep down that this was only the first chapter of a story they had yet to write. But the thought of waiting for her to return felt like an eternity. As Danny stepped into the bar, the lively buzz of conversation and laughter enveloped him like a warm embrace, wrapping around him and momentarily easing the weight of anticipation on his shoulders. The soft glow of dim lights cast a golden hue over the polished wooden surfaces, creating an inviting atmosphere filled with the scent of aged whiskey and the distant sound of clinking glasses. Each sound a burst of laughter, the jingle of ice in a glass felt like a heartbeat, pulsating with the life surrounding him. His gaze quickly found Mickey, who was perched at a table near the back, a playful smirk dancing across his lips as he caught Danny's eye. Mickey's presence was a comforting anchor in this sea of excitement, and Danny felt a rush of gratitude for his brother-in-law's unwavering support. Danny made his way over, his heart racing with the anticipation of the evening's events bubbling within him. He slid into the seat opposite Mickey, who raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "What's got you grinning like a Cheshire cat?" Mickey asked, leaning forward, his curiosity piqued, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Just thinking about Rachel," Danny replied, unable to suppress the grin that spread across his face. "Can I get a drink, something strong to celebrate the occasion?" he added, signaling to the bartender for a whiskey, his go-to drink for moments like these. Mickey chuckled, shaking his head in amusement. "I've never seen you like this before, man. Is she really that special?" Before Danny could respond, a guy at the bar leaned over, overhearing their conversation. "So, did you meet her?" he asked, a teasing glint in his eye. Danny nodded enthusiastically, the memory of Rachel's laughter and warmth flooding back to him like a cherished song. "Yes," he said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "If you had seen her, you would understand why I think she's a goddess." Mickey chimed in, a playful grin breaking across his face. "Danny's right, she is beautiful." However, he leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "Don't tell Maggie I said that." I've got to keep my own goddess happy. Danny laughed, feeling a sense of camaraderie with Mickey that made the weight of the world feel lighter. Don't worry, your secret is safe with me, he replied, his heart swelling with pride at the thought of Rachel, the way she lit up a room, the way her laughter danced in the air. Just wait until you all see her later, Danny continued, his excitement palpable. She'll be coming here soon, and then you'll understand why I can't stop talking about her. The guy at the bar leaned back, intrigued. Sounds like you're really smitten, huh? Are you sure you're ready for that? Danny leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful look crossing his face. I don't know, I didn't expect to feel this way, he admitted, his voice quieter now, almost reflective. But there's something about her. It feels different, like I've known her for a lifetime. Mickey clapped Danny on the shoulder, his expression shifting to one of genuine support. Just enjoy it, man. Life's too short to overthink things. If she makes you feel this way, then go for it. There was a sincerity in Mickey's voice that resonated with Danny, a reminder that sometimes the heart knows what it wants before the mind can even catch up. Danny nodded, taking a deep breath, feeling the weight of Mickey's words settle within him. The anticipation of Rachel's arrival filled the air, mingling with the clinking of glasses and the soft hum of conversation around them. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness, the thrill of something new and beautiful blossoming in his heart. As he took a sip of his whiskey, savoring the warmth that spread through him, he couldn't help but glance toward the entrance, longing for the moment when Rachel would walk through the door. His mind wandered, imagining her laughter ringing out above the din of the bar, her smile brightening the room like a ray of sunshine piercing through cloud. Just then, the door swung open, and a chill breeze swept through the bar, causing heads to turn. Danny's heart raced as he caught sight of Rachel standing at the entrance, her presence commanding attention. She looked radiant, her hair cascading down her shoulders, the soft fabric of her dress hugging her figure just right. The world around him faded into a blur as he focused solely on her, the way she lit up the room the moment she stepped inside. Here she is, he whispered to Mickey, his voice thick with awe. Danny felt a rush of adrenaline as he watched Rachel scan the room, her eyes sparkling with excitement. When their gazes finally met, the connection was electric, a silent understanding passing between them that made the rest of the world disappear. Wow, the guy at the bar murmured, clearly impressed. She really is something else. Danny couldn't agree more. In that moment, he knew that whatever unfolded tonight, it was destined to be a night to remember, and he was ready to embrace every minute of it, heart wide open. As Rachel walked up to Danny, the atmosphere in the bar shifted, filled with an electric anticipation that made his heart race. She approached with a radiant smile, her eyes sparkling with mischief and warmth. "Are you ready for our date?" she asked playfully, her voice a melodic invitation that made Danny's stomach flutter with excitement. Mickey, sitting just a few feet away, couldn't help but gawk at Rachel, his jaw nearly dropping in awe. The other men in the bar were similarly entranced, their heads turning in her direction as if she were a magnet, effortlessly pulling their attention. Danny felt a surge of possessiveness wash over him, an instinctive reaction to protect the special connection he had with Rachel. "All right, everyone, we're leaving," Danny announced with a playful yet firm tone, trying to assert his role as Rachel's date. He shot a glare at the guys who continued to stare, feeling a flicker of annoyance at the admiration directed toward her. "Let's give Rachel some space, shall we?" Rachel chuckled lightly, clearly amused by Danny's sudden protective streak. "You don't have to do that," she said, her voice gentle but teasing, understanding the underlying current of jealousy that colored his words. Danny shrugged, his demeanor a mix of playful bravado and genuine concern. "I know, but I want to make sure you enjoy our date without all the distractions," he replied, offering her his arm as they stepped out into the cool evening air. As they walked to the car, the world around them felt charged, the air electric with possibility. But it was quickly overshadowed by the whispers and glances from passers-by. The way their eyes lingered on her made Danny's heart race, not from admiration, but from an uninvited sense of jealousy that gnawed at him. He couldn't help but feel protective of this beautiful woman who had captivated his heart so completely. Once they arrived at the restaurant, the ambience was warm and inviting, filled with the tantalizing aroma of spices and the soft glow of candlelight. They were seated at a cozy table in the corner, yet Danny couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As they engaged in light conversation, he noticed the way other diners would glance over, their expressions a mix of surprise and admiration at Rachel's beauty. She seemed completely at ease, laughing and sharing stories about her day, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Danny found himself hanging on her every word, enchanted by the way she animatedly recounted tales of her adventures. Yet each time he caught a stranger's gaze on Rachel, a knot of jealousy tightened in his stomach. "Can you believe how much they're staring?" Danny finally blurted out during a pause in their conversation, unable to contain his feelings any longer. "It's like they've never seen a beautiful woman before." Rachel's laughter rang out, light and melodic, cutting through his tension like a warm breeze. "Oh, Danny, you're adorable when you're jealous," she teased, her eyes dancing with amusement. "But it's just a compliment to me, really. You should take it as a sign of how lucky you are." "I just want to keep you to myself," he admitted, his tone earnest, though he couldn't help the slight smirk tugging at his lips. "I don't want other guys thinking they have a chance." Rachel leaned closer, her eyes locking onto his, her voice dropping to a soft whisper. "Well, they don't. I'm here with you, aren't I?" Danny felt a rush of warmth at her words, the tension in his chest easing slightly. "Yeah, you are," he replied, a grin spreading across his face. "And I intend to make sure you have the best time tonight." After dinner, they made their way to the movie theater, the anticipation of the film swirling around them like a blanket of excitement. As they settled into their seats, Danny couldn't shake the feeling of being under a spotlight. The theater was dimly lit, but he could still sense eyes on them, whispers echoing through the rows. "Look at them," he murmured to Rachel, leaning in conspiratorially. "They're all staring." Rachel turned to him, her expression a blend of sympathy and amusement. "You really need to relax," she said, a playful smile teasing her lips. "Just enjoy the movie. I'm here with you, and that's all that matters." As the film began, Danny tried to focus on the screen, but his mind kept drifting back to the whispers, the glances. He felt a mix of pride and jealousy wash over him, a tug-of-war in his heart as he wrestled with the emotions swirling within him. Rachel was an undeniable force of beauty and charisma, and part of him reveled in that, while another part felt an overwhelming urge to protect her from the attention she attracted. "Hey," Rachel whispered softly, breaking through his thoughts. "You're being a little too serious. Look at me." Danny turned toward her, their faces close in the soft glow of the screen. "I'm trying," he said, his voice low. "It's just, I can't help it." Rachel reached out, her fingers brushing against his hand, sending a jolt of warmth through him. "Just remember that I'm here with you," she reassured him, her gaze steady and sincere. "You're the one I want to be with tonight. Let's make the most of it." As the movie played on, Danny found his resolve beginning to weaken. It was easy to get lost in Rachel's laughter and the way her enthusiasm illuminated the dark theater. But then something shifted. A figure emerged from the shadows at the back of the theater, a man Danny didn't recognize. His eyes locked onto Rachel with an intensity that sent a shiver down Danny's spine. "Do you see him?" Danny murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, a sense of unease creeping in. Rachel turned her head, her brow furrowing slightly. "Who?" "That guy at the back," Danny pointed subtly, trying not to make it obvious. "The one who keeps staring." Rachel glanced back, her expression turning serious as she caught sight of the man. "He's just watching the movie," she said, but Danny could see the slight tension in her posture. "No, it's more than that," Danny insisted, his protective instincts flaring. "He's not looking at the screen, he's looking at you." Rachel sighed, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "Danny, you're overreacting. Let's just enjoy the film." But as the movie progressed, the man at the back shifted subtly, moving closer, his gaze unwavering. Danny's heart raced, a storm of emotions swirling within him, jealousy, protectiveness, and an unsettling sense of foreboding. Was this just a harmless admirer or something darker? "Rachel," he whispered urgently, leaning closer. "I think we should go." "Danny, it's just a movie," she replied, her voice calm but edged with confusion. But Danny couldn't shake the feeling. "No, really, let's go." Now, before Rachel could respond, the man suddenly stood up, his movements quick and deliberate. Danny felt a rush of adrenaline as he grabbed Rachel's hand, urgency propelling him to his feet. "Come on, we're leaving," he insisted, his grip firm yet reassuring. As they hurried out of the theater, Danny glanced back, catching the man's eyes, dark, piercing, and filled with a strange intensity that made his skin crawl. He couldn't help but feel that they had narrowly escaped something unsettling. Once outside, the cool night air hit them like a refreshing wave, but the adrenaline still coursed through Danny's veins. He turned to Rachel, his heart pounding. "Are you okay?" Rachel nodded, but the uncertainty in her eyes betrayed her calm demeanor. "What just happened, Danny?" "I don't know," he admitted, his voice low, "but I didn't like the way that guy was looking at you. I just wanted to protect you." Rachel stepped closer, her expression softening. "I appreciate that, but you don't need to worry about me. I can handle myself." Danny sighed, his heart still racing. "I know you can, but that doesn't mean I won't try to protect you. There's something about tonight. Something feels off." Rachel looked up at him, her eyes searching his. "Then let's turn this around. We have the rest of the night ahead of us. Let's make it a good one." Danny nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and gratitude. He took a deep breath, determined to shake off the unease. "You're right. Let's make the most of it." As they walked away from the theater hand in hand, Danny felt the weight of the encounter lingering in his mind, a reminder that the world outside could be unpredictable. But with Rachel by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next, their bond growing stronger even amidst the shadows of uncertainty. As the night continued to unfold, Mickey leaned against the bar, engaging in a lively conversation with Maggie about Danny and his new girlfriend. The atmosphere was filled with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft hum of music that wrapped around them like a blanket. Mickey couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as he recounted Danny's excitement over Rachel. "I'm telling you, Maggie, he's really smitten with her. You should see the way his eyes light up when he talks about her," Mickey said, a grin spreading across his face. Maggie's eyes sparkled with interest, her enthusiasm palpable. "That's wonderful. I'm so happy for him," she replied, her voice laced with genuine warmth. However, a playful glint danced in her gaze as she leaned in closer, her next question hanging in the air. "So do you think she's beautiful?" Mickey recognized the playful challenge in her tone, a classic trick question that required careful navigation. He chuckled softly, knowing he had to tread lightly. "Well, my love," he began, a mischievous smile tugging at his lips. "Danny texted me earlier to ask if we wanted to join him and his girlfriend at the bowling alley." Maggie's eyes lit up with excitement. "Text him, we'll be there," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. Mickey quickly sent a message to Danny, letting him know they were on their way. As he did, he couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation bubbling within him. He knew he would soon get to see Rachel for himself, and he couldn't wait to witness the chemistry between her and Danny. The drive to the bowling alley was filled with lighthearted chatter, Maggie's excitement radiating through the car. As they parked and stepped inside, the vibrant lights of the alley twinkled overhead, casting a cheerful glow over the room. The sound of laughter and the rhythmic clatter of bowling pins filled the air, creating an atmosphere ripe with energy. When they finally spotted Danny and Rachel at their lane, Mickey felt a rush of anticipation. Danny stood next to Rachel, who was effortlessly charming, her laughter ringing out like music. As they approached, Mickey caught sight of Rachel in all her glory. She was stunning, her hair cascading in soft waves, her eyes sparkling with joy, and her smile bright enough to light up the room. "Wow," Maggie whispered under her breath, clearly taken aback by Rachel's beauty. She looked at Mickey, her expression a mix of admiration and delight. "She really is amazing, isn't she?" Mickey nodded, feeling a sense of pride swell within him. "Yeah, she really is. Danny's a lucky guy," he replied, his gaze shifting back to the couple. As they reached the lane, Danny turned, his face breaking into a wide grin. "Mickey, Maggie, you made it," he exclaimed, his excitement palpable. Rachel turned to greet them, her smile radiant and warm. "Hi, I'm so glad you guys are here," she said, her voice melodic and inviting. Maggie stepped forward, her eyes shining with excitement. "It's so nice to meet you, Rachel. Danny has told us so much about you," she said, genuine admiration shining in her gaze. "Nice to meet you too," Rachel replied, her enthusiasm infectious. "I've heard so much about you both from Danny." As they settled in for a night of bowling, Mickey watched the dynamics between Rachel and Danny unfold. The way they interacted was a beautiful dance of laughter and playful banter, their chemistry undeniable. Mickey could see the happiness radiating from them, and it filled him with joy to witness his brother-in-law's newfound happiness. "Are you ready to lose?" Danny teased, a playful glimmer in his eye as he turned to Rachel. "Not a chance," Rachel shot back, her competitive spirit shining through. "I've been practicing." Mickey exchanged a knowing glance with Maggie, both of them laughing at the light-hearted banter. This was a night of celebration, a night filled with laughter, friendship, and the sweet promise of new beginnings. As they took their turns at the bowling lanes, Mickey felt a sense of gratitude wash over him. He was witnessing something beautiful, a blossoming love story, and he couldn't wait to see where it would lead. As the night unfolded, the air in the bowling alley buzzed with laughter and camaraderie, a perfect backdrop for Danny and Rachel, who were truly in their element. They exchanged playful banter, each joke and shared smile deepening the connection between them. Yet amidst the warmth and joy of the evening, an unsettling feeling gnawed at Danny's insides. Each time he caught Mickey's gaze, a flicker of something unsettling glinted in his brother-in-law's eyes, a lustful look that made Danny's stomach churn, twisting the joy of the night into something darker. At first, Danny brushed it aside, convincing himself he was overreacting. Mickey was dating Maggie after all, practically family. They had grown up together, sharing childhood memories and creating bonds that felt unbreakable. Danny had always considered Mickey a brother, and yet as the night wore on, he couldn't ignore the way Mickey's gaze lingered on Rachel, the spark of desire in his eyes making Danny's heart race with a mix of anger and protectiveness. Whenever Danny turned to confront him, Mickey would quickly look away, pretending to be engrossed in the game or the crowd, as if hoping Danny wouldn't catch on. Each unwanted glance from Mickey stoked the embers of Danny's discomfort. He wanted to trust Mickey to believe in his intentions, but the way Rachel was drawn into that gaze felt like an invasion, one that Danny could not tolerate. Rachel was too wonderful, too vibrant, to be the target of anyone's lustful desires, especially someone who was supposed to be family. This realization stirred a tempest of emotions within him, jealousy, protectiveness, and a fierce resolve to shield her from any unwanted attention. After the bowling game concluded, the group decided to switch things up and head over to the pool tables. Danny was eager for a change of scene, hoping it would help him shake off the tension that had settled over his shoulders like a heavy cloak. As they gathered around the pool table, Rachel picked up a cue stick, her confidence radiating like sunlight. She surveyed the table with an intensity that made Danny's heart flutter with admiration. "All right, let's see what you've got," Danny challenged playfully, determined to engage and distract himself from the earlier discomfort. But to his surprise, Rachel stepped up to the table with a skill that left everyone in awe. She expertly lined up her shot, her movements smooth and graceful, the cue stick gliding effortlessly in her hands. With a sharp crack, the cue ball struck the rack balls, sending them scattering across the table. Danny watched, captivated, feeling a swell of pride rush through him as he marveled at her talent. "Whoa, you're really good," Mickey exclaimed, leaning in closer to get a better view. Danny felt a flicker of irritation ignite within him at the way Mickey's gaze lingered on Rachel, but he pushed it down, focusing on the game instead. Rachel continued to sink one ball after another, her skill undeniable. It was clear she was far better than anyone Danny had ever played with, and he couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of admiration for her. Mickey and Maggie exchanged impressed glances, their surprise evident as Rachel continued to dominate the game, her confidence electrifying. As Rachel pocketed another ball, Danny couldn't resist leaning in closer, a playful smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe you should teach me how to play," he said, his voice light but edged with sincerity. Rachel turned to him, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and for a moment the world around them faded. "I'd love to, it's all about technique." "Here, let me show you," she replied, stepping closer to him, her warmth enveloping him like a soft embrace. Danny felt a rush of warmth wash over him as Rachel stood beside him, her presence igniting a comforting energy. He focused on her instructions, captivated not just by her skill, by the way she effortlessly drew him in. Her laughter echoed in his ears, a melody that chased away the shadows of jealousy and unease. In that moment, it felt like the two of them were the only ones in the room, lost in a world of their own. As they played, Mickey and Maggie watched, the atmosphere shifting to one of camaraderie and friendly competition. Danny felt the weight of earlier discomfort lift slightly, replaced by the joy of sharing this new experience with Rachel. Yet he couldn't completely ignore the flickers of jealousy that resurfaced each time he caught Mickey's gaze again, the hint of desire lingering in his brother-in-law's eyes, unsettling him. "Hey, Rachel," Danny said, attempting to ease the tension that had settled in his chest. "What's your secret? How are you so good at this?" She grinned, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's all in the stance and the follow-through. Let me show you again." As she demonstrated, Danny felt a warmth spread through him, appreciating the way she carried herself with such confidence. But then, just as he felt the connection deepen, he glanced over at Mickey, who was watching Rachel with that same lingering gaze, a smile playing on his lips. A knot formed in Danny's stomach, a protective instinct surging forth. In that moment, Danny made a silent vow to guard the bond he shared with Rachel fiercely. He would not allow anyone, not even someone he considered family, to disrupt the fragile beauty they were building together. With renewed determination, he pushed the unsettling thoughts aside, focusing instead on the laughter, the playful banter, and the growing connection between him and Rachel. As the game continued, Danny felt solace in her presence, grateful for the chance to explore this new chapter in their lives together. But the evening was far from over, and as the laughter echoed in the air around them, Danny knew he would have to confront the undercurrents swirling between Mickey and Rachel before they lost the magic of what was developing. Whatever it took, he was ready to protect what they had begun, even amidst the shadows that loomed at the edges of their joy. Thank you everyone who watched the videos I put out. Eventually, I will try to find a graphic designer to animate the stories so I can bring you a better visual of the stories that I create. I'm trying to bring all the stories to life. Hopefully that will give y'all a better visual. If you like original stories, this is a channel for you. Thank you again. Can you like and subscribe? And if you can please leave a comment, I would really appreciate it.